Good morning. My name is Matthew Schneider with Keep Waverly Moving. Joining me today are real leaders and residents of Roseland, Louisiana and Tangipahoa Parish, where on August 22nd, the Smitty's lubrication factory blew sky high, throwing a real environmental disaster all over southern Louisiana. Keep Waverly Moving was doing investigative reporting on the CO2 Denbury pipeline, and firefighters all across the pipeline were warning us of poor training, inadequate evac policies, and underfunded equipment, and bad emergency management plans, too, that we're finding. And we were looking at cities and towns that may be impacted by Sean Duffy's new Safe Roads initiative. One of those roads that kind of led us there, that I don't think is safe, is I-55, and I'll add to that Highway 10, and I'll add to that Highway 51, and really every single city street in Roseland, Louisiana. And I am first joined by Scott Smith. Scott is the founder and the president of the nonprofit Blue Shirt Justice League, who has been on the ground working in Roseland since day one here. Scott, can you help fill us in?
Yeah, I got to, this is my 80th disaster. I got to Roseland August 24th, I believe a Sunday, within 48 hours, and I began testing. And I don't say this lightly. In 19 years, I've never, just when I think I've seen it all from East Palestine or Conyers, Georgia, I thought I was literally in a Stephen King movie because the soot and the ash that rained down, and I've never seen toxic rain fall from the sky and people's pools and ponds fill up with dark oil. And I mean, clearly there's evidence. There's no question people have been contaminated from this plume. So we immediately tried to get as much testing as we could, as close to ground zero as possible. And we've tested close to 50 different locations now, including down in the mouth of Lake Pontchartrain where the Tangipahoa River flows. And all the symptoms are being reported very similar to East Palestine, very similar to Conyers, Georgia. There are no standards to mixtures of chemicals. And we are still in the early phases of all this. There are I'm also a whistleblower client of the Government Accountability Project from East Palestine. People can read the details in my sworn declaration with the other whistleblowers, Stephen Petty and Bob Crotel. EPA whistleblower Bob Crotel, there's called an EPA aspect plane. He was on the ground with me September 8th through September 10th. There's all kinds of information that's going to come out at a later date about the EPA's cover-up of the true extent of the contamination. And that's kind of a general overview. If anybody wants to see some of the background and how all this started in East Palestine, because this is playing out just like East Palestine, just like Conyers, Georgia. I put in the group chat a link to a short documentary with background. You could literally take in this documentary, you could take the names and faces every time and replace them with the residents from Roseland. You could just call it Roseland, Louisiana. It's the same playbook. It's the same systemic failure. And this is not about politics. It's systemic failure. We have East Palestine under a prior administration from a different political party, and now we have this political party. And unfortunately, I'm hugely disappointed. J.D. Vance was on the ground in East Palestine, as was Secretary Kennedy in East Palestine, and they are well aware of what needs to be done. However, with that being said, I'm still hopeful that this community will not give up and speak out and get more attention on this, because there are people within this administration that have an opportunity to stop the systemic failure. So I believe in thinking positive, and I will continue to do all I can do to reach out to the connections I have to get them to help this community. Now, and I want to say, Matthew, for example, I'm involved in a lot of different, I'm a small business owner, entrepreneur, so I think out of the box. But going through disasters, starting with my own and thinking about how the SBA steps in, I don't know why I'm going to suggest this actually to Steve Scalise. who is the House Majority Leader, and Mike Johnson, both from Louisiana, and also Secretary Kennedy. I don't know why the Small Business Administration couldn't step in and get a little creative here. And if you wanted to move, you could take the appraised value of your house before the incident and have the SBA do like a 50, like these disaster loans they do for businesses, like a 2% 50-year amortization loan, and get people out. Because right now, there's a long way to go on this, but number one, first and foremost, is the health and safety of all the affected families and their children and the schools involved. And the government clearly could step in and offer low interest financing and grants like they do in other disasters for businesses, and they could step in right away and give these affected residents a choice to move and get out if they want. That's what I think we really need to focus on and becoming very loud, because this community needs help. The good news is with a lot of the work I'm doing, we can help people understand what they may have been exposed to and then put the power in their hands to go to their doctors. And where the government can come in with disaster financing is empower these homeowners to make their own decisions to get their families out if they want to. That's what's been missing in East Palestine and other areas. But it all starts with people coming together and making their voices as loud as possible.
Absolutely. And I think that's where we were kind of stepping in, where you guys had reached out to us and said, hey, we help us out because there's a problem here. And I got to give credit to Wynn. I think she knew that we could get really crazy about being loud about bad traffic if you look at anything Keep Waverly Moving has done. And this is a situation where the city can step in and do good. And again, hats off to Wynn. That's been an incredible thing. And, when disasters come, we had a bad flood in Waverly in 2008. And there is beauty in those. And one of the beauty is people do come together, and they do come together in the right way. And they do things that help move the community forward. I think what's great about this situation is I get to meet new friends. And one of those is, I can't wait for the day when I can shake his hand. It's Reverend Marvin Vernon, who's been a rock through this thing since the beginning. And we don't have him on Zoom here, but I've got him on my phone. And Reverend, are you there with us?
Yes, absolutely. I'm right here. And my residence is actually 3 miles from ground zero. I have a church property that's a half a mile from ground zero. And as just yesterday, traveling on LA 10, you can actually see water in 3 different locales, and each one of those waters have a different texture that indicates that the oil is still moving and the danger is have not subsided and will not leave us for unknown amount of time. And I also have a chemist that actually worked at Smitty's for 8 years some time ago, and he's looking forward to just give us some information. And once Scott come back into town, I would like to have a confidential meeting with Scott and his chemistry just to share some things that he actually seen that taken place during the time that he worked in the plant there. So all of these things are concerned, and my objective is to continue to build voice. And we got a long road to go. And it appears to me that the leadership locally, they're taking this thing lightly. Some of them have fear. Some of them just is inadequate leaders. And there's too many folks that's nonchalant about this. And I'm concerned the long range. And if we don't get a hell on this, Roseland can be a ghost town in 30 years. I'm really concerned about the AFFF, that very little talk has been said about the AFFF. But the research shows that the chemicals is life. It just don't have a statute of limitation. So I appreciate all of you that is supporting us, and many of you don't have a horse in the race, but you're involved, and that means well. as a servant to mankind. We thank you so much.
Well, Reverend, we do have a horse in this race. Everybody's got a horse in this race, and everybody needs to be together on this. And before the end, hang on the line, Reverend, because I want to come back to you. But first, I want to go over to Evan, and Evan and I talked just briefly on his farm there. When I was trying to get a handle on this story, I had a tough time. I'll be honest. It was a hard time even getting a handle on this story from an emotional standpoint. I couldn't do it. Honestly, I couldn't put it in words. And I told Wynn, I said, I'm not writing this story. I'm going to have you guys write it because I can't tell this story at all. It's too hard to tell. So, Evan, just kind of tell me whatever you want to say.
Yeah, well, first off, thanks to you and Scott and everybody that's coming in from outside the community to try to help everybody here. And I definitely appreciate the help that we're receiving. And we really need to get the word out there because, like we had said previously, there's a lot of people within the community and a lot of leaders that should be helping that are not. Obviously, I only live a little less than a half mile away from the plant. So we were in the evacuation zone, which was a nightmare because I was actually on my way back from vacation in Orlando and got a call from my sister-in-law who lives next door. We were still about an hour and a half out, and it just started raining on our way back in, and she informed us that Smitty's had just exploded. So obviously at first I'm thinking, okay, it's just a small fire, it'll be out. And then immediately pictures started to flow in from people that we knew and on social media, and it became pretty clear that it was not just a small fire. So at this point, I have a farm and I have a small business operates from my farm. I have goats, I have horses, we have dogs, we have birds. So immediately you begin thinking, what are we going to do? Because then the evacuation order comes out. So fortunately, we had a horse trailer that we had been trying to sell, but had not sold. So immediately got back and started trying to get everybody out. Now, when we got back, you could see the plume. Obviously, as soon as we turned on I-55 from I-12, it was just a huge cloud. And my wife and daughters, I pointed at, I said, that's it right there. And they immediately said, no, that's just a cloud. And I don't know if that was, just their way of trying to deal with the fact that there's this huge plume in the sky that's coming from someplace that's less than a half mile from our house that manufactures lubricants and toxic chemicals that are obviously not going to be good for anybody. So it's immediately get back, and it was surreal just sitting there trying to load up all of our animals as this giant black cloud. When we first got back, it was blowing northeast. As soon as the rain started, the wind shifted and the plume came over our property. It was at that point we actually loaded our horses up and left to bring them about 15 miles away. And when we left, there was nothing on the ground. We got back from dropping the horses off, and our road is covered in black. Everything is black. So we still had to get our goats loaded up and get them out. So attempting to get them loaded up while watching this rain fall, and at some point while we were loading them up, the wind shifted again. So it was only about 45 minutes that we got the black rain on our property, but that was more than enough time to cover absolutely everything. And Scott has been out here and has taken samples, and like he had mentioned to me, he's never seen anything like this tarry black substance that's on the leaves on our property and everybody around here. It doesn't wash off, and it's thick.
I want to talk about that black rain because the first thing I did is I went back into all of the August news that I could find, and most all of the reports were saying this is just oil. Scott, that doesn't jive with me. This doesn't look like oil.
Yeah, I'm only jumping in because it's very important to let the residents give them the voice and just listen to them. But I'd like to add one of the things. I'm glad Evan just reminded me. This is probably the worst I've seen. This is a combination of the BP oil disaster and East Palestine. You have a toxic plume with mixtures of chemicals similar to East Palestine, not exactly the same, but then you got massive amounts of spewing ongoing oil. So you got a convergence of these two spills. So in many ways, and General Honore reached out to me early on in this, and he's been a great supporter to help the community. And, this is worse than the BP spill because you got the toxic plume affected too. And
Yeah.
I was just muted. Some of you may have seen me pick up the phone. This is in real time. I just got the drone footage is headed my way, and I'll be posting that. But there is footage of what we call all these interconnected ponds. You see D1 to D4. Long story short, we've got proof of the visual footage of the oil sheen gushing and flowing in to the Tangipahoa River, and the EPA said that was not going to happen. That footage I haven't seen yet, but I just took that call, and I just want to reinforce about how great this community is, and this is an incredible team that's ever expanding, and thanks to you, Matthew, it's going to expand even more, and the truth and justice is going to happen. It's going to take a while, but I have never been so impressed with the community gathering the facts and willing to take this fight.
Well, and I want to kick this over, move this over to Wynn's situation, because we do have a situation where this rain clouds is raining on her dog rescue, and I think that Wynn will probably be a better voice to fill us in about that. Wynn, how are you doing this morning?
Good. I'm still in bed, so I'm not on camera. Yes, I had moved on my dreamland. It was my great grandfather bought the land, and I traveled most of my life, and finally at this age was able to move on my land, and it's on the river, and do what I do and what I always dreamt of doing, which was dog rescue. Something I'm very good at, and I've excelled quite well at. I knew about the explosion, and I never really and I knew Schmitty's had plenty of leaks into the river, but I really didn't put two and two together until Saturday. This happened on Friday. 24 hours later, even though they knew by 5 p.m. the day before that they had breached and drained into the river, they did not let us know. And what we did every day was use that river with the dogs. So around noon, it came on that it's breached the river. I run back there. Sure enough, I've got 7 dogs swimming in black. And I rescue Pyrenees, which are all white furry dogs. So you can imagine what that was like. It took about 20 baths just to get as much of that mixture off. It stuck to everything. The smell, like it was awful. I had dogs sick, diarrhea, vomiting, really just lethargic. It's just a nightmare. So I just went. Go ahead.
Wait, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I want to pop in here and tell the people that I've been on the phone with you all week, on and off. And, I talked to Reverend Marvin. I think it was first Sunday. I can't remember, Reverend. The days are kind of blurring, but, one day you guys will feel good, and then you're down. When the rain comes through, you're down. And I can hear it. Wynn is not a pack-a-day smoker by any means. That is crap that is in her lungs that she did not ask to be there. And yeah, so I'll let you finish, Wynn. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think I messaged you last night saying I think the amount of mucus that's come out of me this week would beat the Guinness record.
Yeah.
But I went into fight mode basically. I just started researching, and I found Scott. I think Scott and I kind of found each other same way I found you.
Let's keep moving around the horn, unless you had other things to add.
No, not at all.
Another fighter in the community, she's been pulling all together, is Arlene. And I think she's on the road. Hopefully she's still with us. Arlene?
Yeah, my husband grew up 4 miles from Roseland on a dairy farm. And like 58 acres was given to him, several years ago. His parents divided the land, whatever. And when his dad died almost 3 years ago, we ended up buying his house. So we're on the land that my husband grew up on. It was no longer a dairy farm, but a cattle farm, just beef cattle farm. And I retired 3 days before my father-in-law passed away. And then we ended up buying his place. And I was an executive with a state office for 30 years and went into farming and found the thing that I love. that's just what I love. It was also my husband's retirement plan because although I have state retirement plan, he didn't put into 401k. He's always worked, done industrial work, his own business doing heavy, um, big truck motor, you know, mechanic work. But this was his retirement plan, beef cattle. And so I'm mowing grass that afternoon and I hear some booms over my headphones that I've got, blasted in my ear. And I thought it was thunder. We were supposed to get rain that afternoon. I thought, gosh, maybe it came early. And so then I get a text from a friend with a copy of the alert they had received from Roseland Elementary and that Smitty's was on fire. And I look that direction and I can see the smoke. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I immediately reach out to my kids and my husband. And he was like, okay, you need to go ahead and feed the cows and pack us a bag in case they had evacuated the 1 mile and, pack a bag in case that extends. And so my husband worked at Smitty's about 12, 13 years ago. So he was aware of a lot of, things that were not done right there. And he also understands the chemical industry to an extent that, they didn't make just oil. They made, they got crude oil, hydraulic oil, antifreeze, lubricants. So if they're making all these different things, you can only imagine the combination of chemicals.
Well,
and you got all these tanks so close together, we knew the whole place was going to go. That was it, And
I'm not a scientist, but I know when Scott Smith is tapping on my shoulder and says, "Hey, this ain't right," I know it ain't right. So
right. So anyway, that afternoon when my husband got home, I had fed the cows, and with the rain coming down, not knowing what was going to be in it, we decided we had all of our watering troughs were covered by barns of one kind or another, except for one out in the pasture. So he said, "Let's go empty that, watering trough so they're not drinking it." And so we went and emptied it, got covered in black rain in the process. It looked like oil falling from the sky. It looked like oil running off of our Polaris Ranger. Literally just looked like dripping oil. And at that point, we started talking to our friend that we, kind of work with our cows together and stuff like that, help each other. And we really were debating on whether or not we should, by the next morning, we're debating on whether we should sell the cows before they get sick. Because we're like, do we keep them here? Because whatever's in that rain is now in the grass and they're going to be eating it. We don't know the long-term effects, and cows are way too expensive to take a gamble with. And so we really were debating on just loading them up and selling them, taking them to the sale bar on Monday. But our friend works for a guy about 45 minutes from our place, and the guy happened to reach out to him and say, "Hey, how are your cows?" And he was like, "Well, mine are okay, but my buddy's got this dilemma." He's like, "Look, don't sell them, don't lose them, bring them here. I got 200 acres ain't being used. Just bring them." So we borrowed a couple of big trailers, hired a guy, helped us move them, and that's where they're at. We are moving them closer next weekend because we're having to go every 4 days to go bring a load of hay, which takes several hours out of my husband's work day. And so anyway, it's just been very emotional because this was our retirement plan. And now we don't know if it's safe to even stay there, although we're there and I've got a child still at home. And I'm like, what am I exposing her to? I already know that I don't let her go outside, but I already know that my water is contaminated. And I don't know what the long-term effects are going to be. And I don't know if we're going to get to stay there and live out our retirement dream or not.
Well,
but
I can tell you this. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I want to say this and I'll finish up. But I knew immediately, very early on, that I needed to be a voice for the community. I'm not from there, but I love this place. I've been for 30 some odd years that I've been with my husband, and I just knew that I needed to be a voice. It's hard though because we know the corruptness of the owner of Smitty's. My husband grew up with him, and it's very, very ugly and very bad. And there are many people in the community literally even afraid to say I'm sick because they can't handle the backlash of the people making fun or whatever, you know.
Yeah. And you hit it there. We have to lock arms right now. There is no choice whatsoever. And again, big credit to Wynn for not she wouldn't let me not cover this story. She said, you have to cover this. And I kept looking at it and I said, you're right. This has to be done. And I want to give one final word to Reverend Marvin Vernon, who has Powerhouse Charities. And we've been talking all week, and I'm not even sure what the needs are yet this week. And Reverend, I guess what I'm going to say is Waverly's going to be whatever voice you guys need. And, I know you guys will be singing in church tomorrow. We'll be right there with you. And I guess, do you have any other final words that you want to say?
Yes, can you hear me?
We can. Yep. I thought we lost you there for a moment.
Again, we just appreciate you. We're just going to continue to gather data, and we're open to the experts, and that's what it's all about. It is a concern for everyone and everybody, and I just appreciate all the input and the effort that you all have put in, and the community of Roseland. I can speak on behalf of the city of Roseland. We appreciate you, Holly.
All right.
Hey, Matthew.
Yes.
Could I, the EPA's most wanted dog, Oliver, just came to get me because it's time for his Saturday walk. I want to introduce him. You'll know more about Oliver here soon. This is Oliver. He came to sit at my feet.
He's so cute. We love him.
Yeah. And this story did come all about the dogs. And during one of our bathroom breaks earlier, I had to help Maggie because she had her foot stuck in her ear because I don't know what she was doing. But you guys know the drill. So, but we have to take care of each other. We have to take care of our communities because they're under a different kind of stress. And once we lock arms together, East Palestine's helping you guys. You're helping us, vice versa. This all kind of is going to swing around, and everything will get better. But everyone's going to need to help in their communities in any way possible. So I appreciate everyone from Roseland and the Tangipahoa Parish area for joining us this morning. And as we have any more follow-ups, we will definitely keep everyone up to date. I encourage everybody to follow Keep Waverly Moving Facebook page. I understand that information is like rolling in there. And as well on x.com. I'm not familiar with X. Keep Waverly, I think is how that is. So, but so you can find us there. So I appreciate everyone, and everybody have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you.
Thanks, Wynn, for finding him.